Hi, I'm Rob, and in this Gems of War video I'm going to give you my opinion on what is good and bad in the Soulforge this week. What's worth crafting and what you should avoid more than a rabid tramp that has the scurvy, leprosy and the plague and wears a suspiciously long raincoat, even in the summer. First things first, let's take a look at the weekly event troop, which is here. This is the Herald of Blight. These are always worth picking up every single week. This is a Blighted Lands epic. Let's take a look. Uses purple and green, and the traits are gain 3 to all skills if in first position. That's pretty good. Reduce damage from skulls by 25%. Really handy. And inflict death mark when doing skull damage. That's quite nice too. That is a nice little set of traits for an epic. But what's the spell like? Destroy a row. This is with a full effect. You collect all the gems that you do from that. And destroy a row, which is a horizontal line, is better than destroying a column, which is a vertical line. I'll explain why in a second. Curse and disease the first two enemies, so that's not bad either, especially curse. Then deal magic plus 3 damage to them, boosted by the green gems destroyed. So overall, that is actually quite a handy little spell there. That's not too bad at all. But why is destroying a row better than destroying a column? Well, when you destroy a column, that's a vertical line, you have literally no control over what is dropping down from that at all. It's just pure luck. When you destroy a row, that is a horizontal line, you can actually look around and you can see and predict entirely what is going to drop down. And you can create a 3 match from that, maybe even a 4 match, and get an extra turn. Like say there was a vertical line and there was 2 purples, a yellow, and then followed by another 2 purples. You destroyed a row with that yellow in it, you're going to get a 4 match and an extra turn as well. So that's why destroying a row is better than destroying a column. But yeah, pretty solid troop overall. I'm going to give that a nice 6 out of 10. And I'll be showing my world event team later, so I'll pop back a little bit later for that. Alright, now onto the Soulforge. Oh, you should always grab these as well up to mythic level if you can. It's going to give you another troop to get to level 20, which is going to aid your power level kingdoms. Or your kingdom's power levels. That was an anagram or a puzzle. Who knows? Anyway, onto the Soulforge. I'm not going to go over all the weapons and troops that are here all the time, just the new ones. So all these are in previous videos. Soul Reaper isn't though. Deals 44 in my case damage to an enemy, boosted by Blighted Lands allies. Then create a mix of 6 red and purple gems for each Blighted Lands ally. So you need a team of Blighted Lands allies to make this work properly. And because it creates red and purple but uses brown and yellow, you need those Blighted Lands allies to use red and purple, or at least a couple of them at least. So can be okay, but pretty situational in the regard of the troops required. Now, what are the others? Desdemona's Bolt deals a magic plus 3 damage to an enemy, and if the Desdemona is on my team, inflict 2 stacks of bleed, which is a true damage. So she does normal damage, but with a true damage effect, which is slightly strange. And obviously, you need Desdemona on the team to help you out. So you're already forced into having 2 troops on the team. The hero using this weapon and Desdemona. So again, pretty situational. Doomed Staff. Creates 4 yellow gems, then 1 gem per tempering level, then gives armor to all red allies. And if the enemy has a doom, eliminate all armor from a random enemy. So very situational. Not really a fan of these kind of weapons. I much prefer the doomed weapons that change colour to skulls and do big damage. They are far more effective than this kind of thing. Collectible at most. Scythe of the Blight. Remove all red gems with no effect. So if you've got anybody that uses red on your team, this is going to hinder you. But if you're fighting opponents that like red, then very handy indeed. Then deal magic plus 5 damage to an enemy, boosted by the gems removed. If the enemy is from Blighted Lands, or if their battle is in Blighted Lands, deal double damage. So most effective against a Blighted Lands team or when fighting in Blighted Lands, but other than that, not that useful. Death Spire. Now this sounds scary, so this should be good. Deal 20 damage to all enemies, boosted by all enemy towers. Right. Well, Death to the Spire, more like take a hammer and a chisel and give it a little bit of a chip. Yeah, it's obviously designed to use against towers, but boost ratio is only times 8, so against an all tower team, it's going to be 32. So even for me, it's only going to be 52 to all enemies. Might work. I don't know. It doesn't seem that great offhand, but yeah, maybe worth picking up. But it's only going to work in those events or against opponents with towers, and then you've got the siege breakers, which are far better than that. So yeah, it doesn't seem that great to me at the moment. Fire Staff. Deal magic plus 4 damage to an enemy. Deal a double damage if there is a firestorm and create a firestorm. So that does create a firestorm itself to get that double damage, but that's the last part of the spell, so that's not going to come into effect the first time you cast it. The things of a spell like this is the events of a spell happen in order, so you will not get that double damage on the first cast. But there are other classes which create firestorms, and I'm pretty sure it's Sunspear that creates a firestorm at the start of every turn, so that would be a way of making sure you always get double damage when you cast this spell. So not too bad, pretty good for a low level weapon. And that is it. So nothing fantastic there this week. Now onto the troops, and in the same way, I'm not going to go over all the same ones which are here all the time, just the 4 new ones and the legendaries. Ullor, like him, and I still really like him. I liked him when he first came out several months ago, and I still think he's pretty cool now. His spell, when used at the right time, can absolutely crucify the opponent. It sounds just moderate on paper, eliminate, in my case, 28 attack from the first 2 enemies, 28 magic from the last 2, and drain all the mana from the 2 strongest enemies. You can work out who that is going to be. Obviously the first 2 is the magic from the last 2 is obvious, but drain all mana from the 2 strongest, you actually have to work out and see who that is going to be have an effect on. But the thing I love about Ullor is that's a good spell anyway, and it really crucifies certain troops. Those book teams, the scriptures, the tomes, that kind of thing is pretty effective against reducing what they do. But also he gets more powerful as you win the game. You defeat your first enemy, you just get someone killed on the opposite team, and then suddenly you get more of a effect from his spell. And when you get down to the last 2, obviously they automatically become the first 2 and last 2 at the same time, as well as the strongest 2. So he just absolutely crucifies people when cast at the right time. And as well as that, that third trait is superb. Freeze and Fairy Fire a random enemy when matching blue gems. Just by matching blue gems, you freeze and Fairy Fire someone. That is really good. Fairy Fire, 50% extra damage from incoming damaging spells, and freeze, you lose any extra turns you would have had. So do like Ullor. Very good. Quite situational, but very good in the right team. Dow. Oh, it's more like Dow. Anyway, eliminates 14 in my case from a random skill on an enemy. Destroys 8 gems of one of their mana colours, then repeat 2 more times for random enemies. I don't think I've ever used this genie. Looks like it's supposed to be a genie of some sort on the Aladdin type thing. But Shabani Vespera, who's like the opposite of this, is superb and really useful. But this is just nowhere near as useful, because with Shabanu you can basically plan your team around it. You can have a limited amount of colours, so you get a higher chance of making that spell work. When you destroy that amount of gems, then repeat it 2 more times for random enemies. On a Shabanu Vespera team, for example, you make sure you have as little extra colours as possible. Even the other 3 troops having just one of Shabanu's colours, say purple, just as a single purple on the other 3 troops to make sure you get that high chance of getting loads of the same colour. But with this, because it's doing on the enemy, it's not going to be anywhere near as effective unless everyone's using exactly the same colour, which can happen. It's more liable to happen on a Guild Wars day, but yeah, with that lack of control over it, it's a troop I've never actually used, so more Dolt than Dow. Farah Nefertani. Again, not used her in any serious way. I've got a few of these. Deals damage to an enemy boosted by death marked enemies, curse and disease. All enemies. Disease is kind of handy, reduces the amount of mana a enemy gains. Curse is very handy indeed as well. But the damage isn't actually very good at all for a mythic. Does death mark a random enemy when matching 4 or more gems, which is going to boost the damage, but still for 24 mana cost, that seems a little bit limited. So I'm not a favourite, and she's kind of looking around as if to say, does my bum look big in this? Well, if you ask me that question, I'm going to give you the honest answer. It's the clues in my name, and if my answers frighten you, then don't ask scary questions. Famine. Famine, famine, famine. Really cool artwork. It's an okay spell when used at the right time. Can be effective. Drain mana from all enemies, but obviously the more mana the team has got, the more the effect it is. And sometimes you got one troop really, really close to being cast who you really want to do that on, and everybody else sometimes hardly got any mana at all. So it's going to be up and down on the damage and effect of that, but certainly can be a very effective troop when cast at the right time. And the first enemy loses 3 skill points at the start of each turn is okay, but the rest of the traits aren't particularly anything special at all. Now, before I'll give my super coveted mythic of the week, let's go over the legendaries quickly. Who we got? Emperor Corvash. Love this troop. He's still really handy now. I used to use this guy all the time as an early and mid-level player. Really nice third trait. Stun a random enemy on 4 or 5 gem matches. And a good first trait as well. Gain 3 to all skills if in first position. This is the game basically hinting to you that this guy is best used in first place. Because the idea of it is, where the spell is to deal true damage to the first 2 enemies, stun them and drain their mana. The idea is obviously when we start the game, both sides are collecting mana, and it is typically the troop at the top or troop second down which is going to be collecting mana first, just because of the nature of the colours of the game. And the idea of this is you get charged up first and then drain that mana, effectively making all those turns the enemy took before pretty much worthless. So a really cool troop. Love him still. Really, really handy indeed. Chief Stronghorn. Pull an enemy to first place. Good when you want to change the team's order around a bit of the opposition. Deal damage to them boosted by my attack, life and armor. So can be good, but it's nothing fantastic. But it is immune to Devour, which is good. And give all Tauros 1 attack, armor and life on 4 or 5 gem matches. Matron Dragatani. Now this is a underrated troop in my opinion. Create 6 blue gems boosted by frozen enemies at a ×2 ratio. So that can be a lot of blue. Then deal damage to the first and last enemies boosted by those blue gems. So the spell is not bad at all, a decent mana generator. But look at that third trait. Reduce damage from spells by 75%. That's massive. And she's got a 25% chance to summon a Dragonet on death at the same time. So really cool. I like her. She's quite situational, but can be really good in the correct team. Smashed Mouth. We can't tell if it's been smashed. He's got it covered up by some weird grill thing. Anyway, deals damage to an enemy and knock them to the back. Drain 7 mana from all enemies below them and gain an extra turn, which is standard for goblins. Bleed and silence the first enemy when I deal skull damage is the best of the traits. And reduced damage from skulls by 25% is not bad either. So, yep, he's pretty good. But my favourite there, or favourites there, are definitely Emperor Corvash and Matron Dragatani. But who gets my coveted Mythic of the Week? Is it a Famine? No, you're good, but not that good. Pharaoh, no, don't be silly. You're a bit rubbish. Dow, you're more dull than Dow. And it's going to have to be Ullor then, because there's no one else left. But it just so happens he happens to be pretty good. Crippling the stats on the opposition team. Really effective in the correct team. And that awesome third trait at the same time. Means Ullor gets my Mythic of the Week. Well, there's the video. I'll be coming back later on today with my World event team for the Cursebreaker World event. So check that out a bit later on. If you found this video useful or helpful, it'd be cool if you clicked that like and subscribe button. And I'll catch you again later. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.